Hey, welcome back. Today we'll be covering California Bureau of Security and Investigative Services Powers of Arrest. This is a course that's required for your guard card. And in the right-hand corner there, you will see an example of what a guard card looks like. My name is Ryan Long, and this is provided to you by University Security and Training Solutions. All right, in this section of the video, we're going to be doing the review of the BSIS Powers of Arrest Manual. And these questions are asked as you go through the manual. And there's about 15 different sections. And right now we're just going to go through the questions. If you haven't reviewed the manual, you can find that resource online, and I will link it below as well. I recommend reviewing that, studying it, and then coming back to this video and going through the review. Many of these questions are the same questions that you will find on the actual guard card test. So question 1. The primary role of a security guard, proprietary private security officer, should be to enforce the law, protect people and property, act like a peace officer, arrest lawbreakers. And guys, I would have a piece of paper and write down your answer to these as I say them, and then shortly you will see the correct answers to each of these two questions, and as we go forth, they'll be in the same type of format. Question 2. A security guard, proprietary private security officer's role is the same as that of a peace officer. True or false? So the primary role of a security officer is to protect people and property. And obviously, a security officer in the state of California is not the same as a peace officer, so that's false. Question 3. What should the responsibility of a security officer, proprietary private security officer, be before an incident offense has occurred? Detain and punish, stay out of sight, prevent, search and seize. Question 4. It is against the law for a security guard, proprietary security officer to arrest somebody, protect property, observe and report, make someone think he is a peace officer. So question 3, the primary role of a security officer is always prevention. That's C. And it is against the law for a security officer to make someone think he or she is a peace officer. So a peace officer, guys, is a police officer. It's a law enforcement officer. So you can never imply that you are a police officer, and that actually goes beyond just saying you're a cop. And that is D. Part 2, question 5. You are a standing security guard, proprietary private security officer inside a department store, and you observe two men coming out of a bar across the street. They start to fight. You should go over and try to break up the fight, or B, call police. If you can, remain at your post. Question 6. You are hired by a bar or restaurant as a security guard, proprietary private security officer. An angry customer refuses to pay his check. Your job is to A, arrest him, her, and everyone in his party. B, keep the peace and follow restaurant policy. The answer to question 5 is B. Call the police if you can and remain at your post. In question 6, going along with the same premise, it is B. Keep the peace and follow restaurant policy. So guys, we are attempting to avoid unnecessary conflict and ultimately liability in this industry. Part 3, question 7. A security guard, proprietary private security officer's lawful authority is the same as that of a peace officer. A, yes. B, no. Question 8. During an emergency on the employer's property, a peace officer instructs a security officer, proprietary security officers, to stand out of the way and behind a police line. The security guard, proprietary private security officer must A. Refuse, as the security guard, proprietary private security officer's duties are different from those of a peace officer. B. Cooperate and follow the lawful orders of the peace officer. C. Apprehend the persons violating the law on the employer's or client's property, since the security officer's proprietary private security officer's duty is to protect the property and person of the employer or client. So our authority as security officers is not the same as a peace officer. So that would be B, no, to question 7. Question 8, you're going to follow lawful orders provided by law enforcement. So just because you're a security officer, that doesn't mean you get to tell a police officer no. So the answer to question 8 is B, cooperate and follow the lawful orders of that peace officer. Question 9. In order to maintain a good working relationship with the local law enforcement agencies, you should never play cop, B, cooperate with local law enforcement, or C, both A and B. Question 10. Write an F if it is fact or C if it is a conclusion. A, he intended to kill her. B, she was trying to steal the ring from the jewelry counter. C, he ran to the fence. And D, he opened the window and entered. Question 9. In order to maintain a good working relationship with local law enforcement, you must never play cop and cooperate with law enforcement. Both A and B is the answer. To question 10. He intended to kill her. That's a conclusion. You're concluding his intent. She was trying to steal the ring from the jewelry counter. That is as well a conclusion. He ran to the fence. You observed him doing that. It's a fact. He entered the window and entered. That is a fact as well. Part 4, review. Question 11. What 6 points should be included in a report? When you write a report, remember to include these 6 facts: who, what, where, when, how, and name the witnesses. Part 5, review. Question 12. On private property owned by your employer, your authority to question is no more than that of any private persons. B, the same as the owner of the property and greater than that of other private parties. And C, the same as a peace officer's. Question 13. Employees are told they may not enter the factory without their identification badges. One employee shows up without his badge and tries to enter. he is violating A, a company rule, B, a public law, C, both a company rule and a public law. Question 14. If you ask the employee referred to in question 13 to leave and he refuses, he is violating a public law. A, yes, B, no. Question 12. The answer to this, guys, is B, the same as the property owner and greater than that of a private party. And the reason being, retailers can have merchant privilege, etc. So just keep that in mind. You do have slightly more authority on a private property than that of a typical person. And this applies to telling people that they're trespassed, etc. Question 13. Employees are told that they may not enter the factory without their identification badges. This is a company rule. Where it becomes breaking a law is question 14. If the employee refuses, that's when it becomes trespass. And the answer to that would be A, yes. Part 6, review. Question 15. Your employer asks you to inspect the personal belongings of employees leaving the plant. He has announced this policy to all employees. What is important to remember about inspections? A, never inspect without cooperation from the employee. Never touch the employee. Never touch the employee's belongings. Or D, all the rules above. Question 16. An employee who's leaving work walks up to you and hands you his lunch pail for inspection. What should you do? Accept it and open it to look inside? Decline to take it. Instead, ask the employee to open it so you can inspect the contents. Lastly, take it, but have the employee open it. Question 15. The answer is D, all the rules above. So you never want to touch a person's belongings, never touch the employee, never inspect without the cooperation of the employee. Keep in mind, even though this is a rule within the facility, they can still refuse, and basically if they refuse to leave at that point, etc., that's trespassing. And the internal policy may be that they lose their job, etc., but that's still not a criminal offense. Obviously, refusing to leave the property would be trespass. Question 16. If somebody hands you their bag and wants you to inspect it, simply say, hey, look, can you hang on to that and open it for me? And then you will do a visual inspection. Part 6, review. Question 17. You are walking through the parking lot and observe company equipment in the back seat of a car through a closed but unobstructed window of the vehicle. You may A, look closely through the window without entering the vehicle at the equipment, and make notes which identify the equipment, the make, the model of the vehicle, and its license number, as well as the vehicle's location in the parking lot, and render this report to your employer or client. B, enter the vehicle to determine if the equipment is stolen, and if so, take it to your employer or client. So the answer to this question is look closely through the window without entering the vehicle at the equipment. Since it's in plain view, you're not conducting a search at that point. You have no authority to enter somebody's vehicle. In fact, you could be charged for that. So don't overstep your bounds. Plus, you don't know if it's actually stolen. Part 7, Review. Question 18. Telling a suspect you'd better start talking or you'll be sorry is an example of A. Intimidation, B. Excessive physical force. Question 19. No other permit is required to carry a gun if you have a security guard registration, alarm responders registration, private investigator's license, or private patrol operator license. A. True. B. False. Question 18. The answer is A. Intimidation. You can't intimidate a subject to start talking or torture them, etc. Question 19. B. False. You do need a firearm permit in the state of California to carry a weapon as a security officer. Part 7. Review. Question 20. What type of liability refers to the right of a party has to initiate a lawsuit? A. Criminal liability. B. Civil liability. Question 21. If a security guard is charged with making a false arrest, what type of liability is incurred? A. Criminal liability, or B. Civil liability. Part 7, Review, Question 20. It is civil liability. So anyone brings you to civil court in a lawsuit, it's civil liability. If you commit a criminal act, you will be potentially exposed to criminal liability. And that's question 21A. Part 8, Review, Question 22. While you are on duty at a shopping center, you see a 12-year-old jabbing an ice pick into a patron's car's tires. You should first, A. Pick the 12-year-old up and throw him out of the parking lot. B. Get a good description and call the police. C. Run at the 12-year-old and yell so the child will run away. D. Approach him or her and tell them to stop. Question 23. A man is smashing tables and chairs at a bar. You are a security guard, proprietary security officer. He is about 6'8" and weighs 280 pounds. You should A. Consider your safety and the safety of others. B. Request patrons of the bar to clear the area. C. Call the police for assistance. And D. Take all of the measures above. Question 22. The answer is D. Approach him, her, and tell them to stop. Question 23 is you're going to take all the measures above. And the key here is, guys, know your limits. He's 6'8". He's smashing tables and chairs, but not directly threatening you. Take a step back, call police. Don't put yourself in a situation where you ultimately are not going to win, and if you're armed, you potentially give up your weapon. Part 8, Review, Question 24. You are a security guard, proprietary security officer working in a jewelry store at closing time. The last patron has left and your employer is about to lock up. You notice a man sitting in a car and the motor is running. You clearly see he has a gun in his hand. You should first, A. Run out of the car and tell him to freeze. B. Have the owner call the police and get a good description and vehicle license number if possible. C. Walk to the car and order the man to leave. Question 25. You are working at a club where everything is quiet. Down the street, two men get into a fight. You should A. Stay where you are. You have been hired to guard the dance. You call the police if it doesn't involve leaving your post. B. Call someone over to watch the dance while you go down to the street and break up the fight. C. Shout down the street for the men to break it up. Question 24, the answer is B. Have the owner call the police and get a description and vehicle license number if possible. Hopefully the jewelry owner will lock the door as well. This is where you shelter in place and avoid the individual at all costs. Q25, the answer is A. Stay where you are. You are hired to call the dance. You could call the police if it doesn't involve leaving your post. Keep in mind that your responsibility is to your client, not necessarily the public realm. So what's not happening at your property, you can call the police if you're worried about spilling over to you, but other than that, stay at your post. Part 8 review. Question 26. You are patrolling a shopping area when you see a juvenile riding a skateboard. You know that skating is against the mall policy. Your best course of action would be to A. Handle the matter formally as a criminal offense. B. Politely approach the boy and inform him of shopping mall policy regarding skating in the mall. Answer is B. Politely approach the boy and inform him of shopping mall policy regarding skating. Keep in mind that skating is not necessarily a criminal offense. And since it's private property, you would have to tell him, or he would have to refuse to leave after you ask him to do so in order to make a trespass case. Part 9, review. Question 27. Two men grab an employee getting out of his or her car in the parking lot. They shove the employee into their car and start driving away. This may be A. Kidnapping, a felony. B. Robbery, a felony. Question 28. A family returns home to discover their household furnishings are missing. They may be victims of A. A burglary, a felony. B. Robbery, a felony. Question 29. An ex-employee of a supermarket waits in his car until the manager closes the building and walks towards his car. She steps out of her car, points a gun at the manager, and fires 3 shots, killing the manager. What crime may have been committed? A. Arson, a felony. B. Murder, a felony. Part 9 review, question 27. The answer is A. Kidnapping, a felony. Question 28. A. Burglary, a felony. Question 29. I think this one's the most obvious, guys. B. Murder. Part 9 review, question 30. Tom is angered because Jim was dancing with Tom's girlfriend. Tom waits outside the door with a large board he picked up from a construction site. When Jim comes out of the building, Tom swings the board and hits Jim in the face. This is A. Assault with a deadly weapon, a felony. B. Battery, a misdemeanor. Question 31. Secretaries Linda and Judy get into an argument over pay raises. Secretary Judy leaves the argument to go to the restroom. Secretary Linda, still angry, hides behind a large bookcase as Judy returns. Linda tries to topple the bookcase onto Judy. The bookcase barely misses her. A. Assault, a misdemeanor. B. Assault with a deadly weapon, a felony. C. Either A or B. Part 9. Review. Question 30. The answer is assault with a deadly weapon, and it is a felony. Keep in mind that he was hit with a weapon. That's the key here. Question 31. She attempted to hit the person. which is a misdemeanor. It's assault. Keep in mind that California Penal Code, the reason this is not assault with a deadly weapon is because it's an attempt. Part 9, Review. Question 32. A man who purchased a new $975 lawnmower pushes it out to his car and leaves it beside the trunk while he goes back into the store to get a sack of fertilizer. While he is gone, someone drives up in a station wagon, puts the new lawnmower in the back of the wagon and drives off. What crime is this? A. Robbery, a felony. B. Grand theft, a felony. Question 33. A man is sitting in the lobby of a automobile showroom at 5 p.m. The security officer starts to lock up for the night and asks the man to leave. The man refuses, so the security officer asks if the man is waiting for someone. The man replies, "None of your business." Again, the security officer asks the man to leave. He refuses. The man has committed the crime of A. Trespassing, a misdemeanor. B. Disturbing the peace. Part 9, Review. Question 32. The answer is B. Grand theft, a felony. California Penal Code defines the difference between petty theft and grand theft as grand theft exceeding the amount of $950. This is $975, so it exceeds the amount. Question 33. The answer is A. Trespassing, a misdemeanor. A representative of the property owner, i.e. the security officer, told the person to leave. They refused. He was asked again. He's committing trespassing. Part 9, Review. Question 34. An angry employee pours lighter fluid in a trash container in the stockroom, then lights it with a match. This is A. Vandalism, a misdemeanor. B. Arson, a felony. Question 35. You drive up to a store at 2 a.m. You observe two men breaking open a door and beginning to load a pickup truck with merchandise. When they see you, they turn and run. This is A. Burglary, a felony. B. Robbery, a felony. Part 9, Review. Question 34. The answer is B. Arson, a felony. Question 35. The answer is A. Burglary, a felony. Part 10, Review. Question 36. You're making your rounds at a shopping center and come to a pickup truck parked at the curb. In the back of the truck are two colored TV sets still in their packing boxes. The two men in the truck look suspicious. According to the law, you can arrest these two men. A. True. B. False. Question 37. You are on duty as a security guard, proprietary private security officer at a factory. You observe a suspect pouring what appears to be gasoline on the ground next to some storage tanks. As you approach, he lights a match and throws it on the liquid, igniting it. According to law, you can arrest this man. A. True. B. False. Part 10, Review. Question 36. The answer is B. False. Question 37. The answer is A. True. Part 10, Review. Question 38. According to the law, which of the following conditions must exist before you can make a misdemeanor arrest? A. The suspect must admit to the crime. B. The crime must have been committed or attempted in your presence. C. Someone told you the suspect did it. Question 39. According to the law, which of the following conditions must exist before you can make a felony arrest? A. The felony must have been committed and you have reason to believe the person you are arresting actually committed it. B. You think a crime has been committed and the person you're arresting is the only person around. C. A citizen tells you he thinks someone was just assaulted. Part 10 review. Question 38. The answer is B. The crime must have been committed or attempted in your presence. You need first-hand knowledge to do misdemeanor arrest. Question 39. The answer is A. The felony must have been committed and you have reason to believe the person you are arresting actually committed it. Part 11 review. Question 40. What should you say to a person you are arresting for burglary? A. State your intent to arrest. B. State the charge, which is suspicion of burglary. C. State your authority to make the arrest. And D. All of the above. Question 41. Once you detain a person against his will, you have placed that person under citizen's arrest. A. True. B. False. Part 11 review. Question 40. It's D. All of the above. So you need to state your arrest, your intent to arrest the person, state the charge, and state your authority to make the arrest. Question 41. Keep in mind that we have very limited means to detain a person against their will besides arresting them. So if you've detained a person against their will, it is A. True. Part 11 review. Question 42. If you are struggling with a suspect and trying to get the suspect under control and there are a number of bystanders, what does the law say you can do? A. Ask the bystanders to help you. B. Demand that bystanders help you. C. Demand the bystanders call the police. Question 43. Under what conditions may reasonable force be used against a suspect? A. Protection of self. B. Protection of others. C. To overcome suspect resistance. And D. Any of the above. Part 11. Review. Question 42. The answer is A. Ask the bystanders to help you. Even if you are conducting a citizen's arrest, you cannot demand anyone assist you. Keep that in mind, particularly when the suspect is much larger than you or you feel you will need help and you can't execute it by yourself completely. These questions need to go through your head before attempting a citizen's arrest. It is completely on you whether you decide to execute or arrest yourself rather than calling police and observing and reporting. Question 43. You may use reasonable force for any of the above. The answer is D. Protection of self, protection of others to overcome suspect resistance. Part 12, review. Question 44. According to the text, you should A. Not search a subject unless you have reason to believe he, she has a weapon. B. Search all subjects immediately. C. Search only persons suspected of major crimes. And D. Search only those persons with a police record. Question 45. What must you do before you frisk a suspect? A. Handcuff the subject. B. Arrest the subject. C. Tie the suspect's hands over his head. And D. Write your report. Question 46. A frisk by a security officer, proprietary security officer, is a search for A. Weapons only. B. Stolen property only. C. Weapons or stolen property. D. Anything. Part 12. Review. Question 44. The answer is A. Not search a subject unless you have reason to believe he, she has a weapon. Question 45. The answer is B. Arrest the subject. Question 46. The answer is A. Weapons only. Keep in mind that security officers can only search a subject for weapons. You need to turn over that arrested individual with no delay or very little delay to a peace officer, and they will conduct a more thorough search. Part 13, Review. Question 47. How soon must you turn a suspect over to the peace officer after arrest? A, without delay. B, at any time. C, after reporting to your supervisor. Question 48. It would be lawful if you held a suspect for 2 hours so your supervisor could question him/her before you called the police. A, true. B, false. Part 13, Review. Question 47. The answer is A, without delay. Question 48. The answer is B, false. Can't interrogate a subject. You need to immediately turn them over to a police officer without delay. You can be held criminally liable if you do not do this. Part 13, Review. Question 49. If you have made a lawful arrest, the local peace officer, A, must take custody of the suspect only if the crime is a felony. B, must take custody of the suspect if the crime is a misdemeanor. C, must take custody of the suspect regardless of whether the crime is a misdemeanor or felony. D, can refuse to take custody of the suspect. Question 50. If the crime committed is a felony, who will make the arrest? A, proprietary security guard, proprietary private security officer. B, the police. C, either A or B. Question 51. What will probably be required of you after making an arrest? A, meeting with the district attorney. B, attending the suspect's hearing. And C, testifying at the suspect's trial. D, all of the above. Part 13, Review. Question 49. The answer is D. The peace officer can refuse to take custody of the subject. Question 50. The answer is C, either A or B. Question 51. The answer is D, all the above. Expect you're going to have to meet with the district attorney, attend the suspect's hearing, and testify in the suspect's trial. Question 14, Review. Question 52. Terrorism is a use of force or violence against persons or property for the purpose of intimidation or coercion. A, true. B, false. Question 53. All acts of terrorism are crimes. A, true. B, false. Question 54. What are the two types of terrorism? A, chemical or biological terrorism. B, computer and sabotage. C, coercion and fear. D, domestic and international. Part 14, Review. Question 52. The answer is A, true. Question 53. The answer is A, true. Question 54. The answer is D, domestic and international. Part 14, Review. Question 55. What are the characteristics of a terrorist? A, they will have a specific objective in mind. B, they will always conduct a surveillance of the target. C, they will rehearse their operation. D, all the above. Question 56. A terrorist almost always acts with a specific objective in mind. A, true. B, false. Part 14, review. Question 55. The answer is D, all of the above. Question 56. The answer is A, true. Part 14, review. Question 57. What are the 4 counterterrorism techniques of physical security? A, security, weapons, deadly force, and threat intelligence. B, deter, delay, deny, detect. C, deadly force, minimum force, de-escalation of force, and entry searches. D, none of the above. Question 58. Terrorist actions are well planned and are usually executed without any deviation to their plan. A, true. B, false. Question 59. Terrorism is directed against governments, businesses, communities, and individuals. A, true. B, false. Part 14, review. Question 57. The answer is B, deter, delay, deny, and detect. Question 58. The answer is A, true. Question 59. The answer is A, true. Part 15, review. Question 60. Appearance and cleanliness are not as important as showing up on time for work. A, true. B, false. Question 61. The general public judges a security guard, private security officer by A, appearance, B, speech, C, attitude, D, all the above. Part 15, review. Question 60. The answer is B, false. Question 61. The answer is D, all of the above. Part 15, review. Question 62. Security guard, proprietary private security officers are peace officers while on duty. A, true. B, false. Question 63. Accepting gratuity is acceptable at certain times. A, true. B, false. Question 64. The ability of a private security company and its security officers to fulfill their duties is dependent upon securing and maintaining public respect and approval. A, true. B, false. Part 15, review. Question 62. The answer is B, false. Security guards are not peace officers while on duty. Question 63. The answer is B, false. You may not accept gratuity. Question 64. The answer is A, true. We depend on public approval and respect.